Okay. All right, gentlemen, I want to go to, but we have not done any of Parsha's Bechukosai, so I want to do some of Bechukosai today, possibly tomorrow. We did Bahar, we spoke about Bahar a little bit. So let's do some Bechukosai. Let's open some windows. Page 708. There's a lot to do on Bechukosai. I want to... Okay. The first thing is the Torah says, "Im bechukosai telechu v'esmitzvosai tishru v'asisa mosam." You follow my statutes. Now Rashi points out over here, very important right off the bat. Rashi says on 708, first Rashi, "Im bechukosai telechu yochol ze kiyum hamitzvos." You might have thought when the Torah says, "If you follow my statutes," maybe you'll swing open that door. David, swing open that door over there. Thanks, Nate. And the windows, open the windows. What do you call it? Yochol zakiyum mitzvahs. You might have thought that this refers to the fulfilling of the mitzvahs. When it says, if you follow my statutes, you might have thought that that's the mitzvahs. Kishehu omer, but yet when it follows in the pasuk, it says, v'smitzvosai tishmoru. The very next phrase, hare kiyum mitzvahs amor. It says kiyum mitzvahs. That's obviously addressing the mitzvahs. Hamani mekayim im bechukosai telechu. So what does it mean when it says, if you follow my chukim? Shetiu amelim baTorah, that you should be amel in Torah. You should exert effort in Torah. What does that mean? You have to exert effort in Torah. That means that Torah is not, first, just simple, very simple. Torah is not a study where we're just trying to accumulate information. And then if you could get some sort of computer, implant a computer chip in somebody, and then what do you call it? And then he's got all the Torah in his head with the computer chip. That's not the goal of the Torah is the working at the Torah, and that's why Torah is very unique. If you spend the whole day working on a Tosos and you don't figure it out, then you might think, well, I haven't accomplished anything, and that's completely incorrect. The fact that you've been sitting and learning and trying and working at it, it in itself is an accomplishment. It's almost the only job in the world that's like that. Most jobs, if you work on a project and then nothing happens, and you come to the boss and say, well, I worked at it, and the boss says, that's great, now I've worked for someone else. Now you're unemployed because I need results. And the boss couldn't care less how much you work or how hard you work, as long as you make him some money. That's all the boss cares about. Here, it's the opposite. Of course, I want you to work at Torah. I want you to work at Amel B'Torah. That's the main part. That's what the benefit of learning Torah and the effect that it has on our personalities is not the accumulation of the information. We all say we have to accumulate the information. We have to know the Torah. But the effect that it has on our personalities is that you've sat there and what they use in the yeshiva world is you break your head. You break your head. You try to work on it and figure out what is Tosos saying, what is Rashi saying, what is the Rashba saying, what is the Tzchishim, what is the Pshat in the Gemara? That's Amel B'Torah. That's the basic idea here. Now, the Orach Chaim HaKadosh here has 42. The Orach Chaim has 42 different comments. The Orach Chaim alone has 42 or 48 different comments on this pasuk. Right? Just 48, just to give you an idea of the depth of Torah. It could be the Orach Chaim specifically did it on this pasuk to show us what Amel B'Torah could produce. So it could be specific. So the Orach Chaim goes to town on it. One of the things he says is that the word Bechukosai is a statute. Statute means we understand that is that window open, by the way? Can we open that window over there behind? Yeah. If it doesn't open, just break it. The Orach Chaim, it's Israel. If it doesn't go, there's an expression in Hebrew, lo holech holech b'koach, right? It doesn't go, it just goes by force. That's how it works. You've been here long enough, like about 5 minutes, then you see that's how it works. So the Orach Chaim says, the word Bechukosai means it's a statute, it's a decree. And like most decrees, we don't understand the decree. And the Orach Chaim says that there's a mitzvah to learn Gemara, there's a mitzvah to learn Torah and to review it, and you review it, and you review it. I mean, I know it already. After 20 times, I'm pretty good. Review it again, and you got a mitzvah. Why? Because you can say one pasuk all day long. Im bechukosai telechu. Say those 3 words all day long. Every word that you've learned is a mitzvah. Every single word. It's a bechukosai. It's a statute. That's Hashem's decree. What we don't understand is that every word's having an effect on us. That's the basic idea here. But even more than that, the idea of Reb Moshe Feinstein says, this idea of shetiu amelim baTorah, that you should work at Torah. It's not limited only to Torah. It's all the mitzvahs that we do, that we invest ourselves in the mitzvahs. Why? Because when you do something and you do it you really put an effort into it, so then it shows you're taking it seriously. It's an indication of our approach to how important it is. Anything that's important in life, a person takes seriously. If you get a guy who, you go out and play tennis once every couple of weeks, you go play tennis, versus a tennis pro who from the age of about 4 years old does nothing but play tennis, right, all day long, that means they're taking it seriously. If you have a father who, he spends time with his kids once a week, spends time with the kids, okay, he feels that he's got a job as a father to train his child. The father who's on top of his kids all the time, and he's working with them, and he plays with them, and he's around his kids all the time, that means you take your job of chinuch, your job of training your children, take your children seriously. You got these guys who, once in a while, guy goes into the weight room, and he pushes weight. You got another guy, who makes every effort in the world he spends every spare minute in the weight room trying as much as possible to build himself up to look like a gorilla. That's a guy who's taking it seriously. I told you, Lou Ferrigno, they wanted the Incredible Hulk. They once asked him how he managed to be the Incredible Hulk. He said he used to pass out from pain in the weight room. He passed out from pain. And I know there are people who pass out from pain sitting at the Shabbos table eating cholent, right? That's also dedication and devotion, right? That means I'm dedicated to this mitzvah. I take this mitzvah seriously. The more effort you make at it, I saw a guy once, in marriage is the same thing. I saw a guy once, happened to be in this guy's house, a young couple. The guy comes walking into the house with a pizza. He just bought a pizza. As he walks into the house, he says, "Who loves you, baby?" He bought his wife a pizza. Yeah, I don't think so. Did you eat any of the pizza? Who loves you, baby, is when you say to your wife, go out with your friends, I'll take care of the kids. Go out with your friends, I'll take care of the dirty dishes. And then the next step is I'll take 2 cyanide pills, right? Okay, but but at the end of the day, if there's something in it for you, that's not true devotion. That's not true. When you're devoted to something, that's amel. Amel means you're devoted to the cause. That's what it means by amel. Number one. Number two, when it says Bechukosai telechu v'esvisosai tishmoru v'asisa mosam, and you shall do that. So the Dovid HaMelech said. He had a lot to do. He was a king. The Gemara says that if you took all of the forests of the world and you made them into quills, you took all the trees, you made them into quills, and all of the seas were ink, and all of the land was parchment, you wouldn't be able to write down what goes through the mind of a king in one day, all of his concerns. He's got military concerns. He's got, what do you call it, nowadays especially the press, and he got the what do you call it, elections. He got a king, a guy who's running a country, especially Israel. Imagine what goes on. I always wonder about that. Imagine being the prime minister. They say the hardest job in the world. Be the prime minister, you know what's going on in Israel. One time you got security and money and elections, and you got all this on your head. And Dovid HaMelech said that in spite of everything, his feet took him to the Beis Medrash. That's in Bechukosai telechu. If you go by naturally, you follow, your feet take you to the Beis Medrash, or they take you to the right place. I always say that Yiddishkeit shouldn't be mechanical, but it should be automatic. There's a difference. That means it's automatic in the morning that you get up and you go to minyan. When you're in shul, it shouldn't be mechanical. You should daven with your heart. Davening with your heart doesn't mean davening loudly and bothering the guy next to you. Davening with your heart means you're devoted. It should be automatic that after shul, I'm going to learn. It should be automatic that after I eat, I bench. It's automatic. You bench. Yeah, you don't bench mechanically. You have to bench with you have to think about what you're doing. It's automatic that if I see an old lady get on a bus, it's automatic that I'm going to get up and give her my seat. It's automatic. It shouldn't be. It's not. That's in Bechukosai telechu. We should automatically be going in the right path and doing the right thing. But Dovid HaMelech said his feet took him automatically to the Beis Medrash. That here he has so much to do, yet and that's a very indication of where a person's holding. Yeah, can we turn on the air conditioning? Yes. Notice how I said we. The window is not going to help us when it's hot. We're in summer in Israel, guys. Just turn it on and don't turn it off till after Pesach, right? We're till after Sukkot, right? Just leave it on now. That's all. It's not that complicated. Thank you. The what do you call it? That's how it is. If you go to Bnei Brak, that's literally how it is. To hit that button right after Pesach, just leave it on, and Bnei Brak is boiling. So it's going to get hot, by the way. We're going to have it's going to be 33 this week. 33 is about in the high 80s, I think. But then there's a real feel, right? There's the temperature and there's the real feel, which I don't understand why there's a discrepancy. I only know that I'm hotter than 33. It could get hot. And then we'll have a few weeks where we could hit 40 also in Yerushalayim. 40, yeah, that's smoking. Yeah. Get an air-conditioned car and an air-conditioned house and a portable refrigerator. So what's it called? If you want to know who you are or where you're holding, what do you do with your discretionary time? That's an indication. That means when a person is in shir, you're on a regular schedule. Well, I go to davening, I go to shir. Okay, now you've got a break, or now you've got bein hazmanim, or now you got a little bit of vacation. What you do in your discretionary time is an indication of where you're holding. I grapple with this whenever I travel, like on my last trip. Okay, now I'm at the airport. What do I do at the airport? So in Israel, it's great. There's a base medrash. Then you're on the plane. Now, what do you do on a plane? And what do you do when you land? And what do you do when you're in somebody else's house? And what do you do when you have free time? I don't want to say. But what I don't want to say what I did. But I mean, besides watching a Cub game, I don't want to say. So what do you do with your discretionary time? That's an indication of who you are. So that's in Bechukosai telechu, that if you follow the statutes of the Torah, if you follow the statutes of the Torah, that means you should naturally be moving and right. Look, none of us are perfect. And we all have our flaws, we all have our off days and so on and so forth. But naturally we should be moving in that direction. Now, the Bezrat Hashem, somebody once came, there was I had a neighbor, he was already nifter many years, but he was a Talmud many years ago in Torah V'das in America. And Rav Shraga Feivel Mendelowitz was the one who founded Torah V'das. We're going back to the 30s and 30s, 40s. And this young man, he was very good, very dedicated, very devoted, and he came late to davening. He kept coming a few minutes late to davening. So Shraga Feivel Mendelowitz, who was the principal, he called him in. He told me the story, and this even appears in the book on Rav Shraga Feivel with this man's name. He said to him, Herzl, his name was Herschel, they used to call Herzl. He said, when are you going to start coming I want you to start coming to Minyan on time. So he said, Mirza Hashem. He said, don't say Mirza Hashem, say Mirza Herzl. Right? Leave Hashem out of it for a second. Right? Do you want to do it? If you want to do it, you'll be there on time. If it's important enough to you, you'll be there on time. Believe me, you'll be there. If I tell you have a meeting tomorrow, you're applying for a job that pays 7 figures, and the meeting, the meeting is at 7 o'clock in the morning. Believe me, you'll be there on time. Believe me, you'll be there on time. You'll be probably weary because you probably won't have gone to sleep at night at all, right? But you'll be there on time. If it's important enough, we'll be there on time. Okay. So then the Torah goes and it says, if you do this, and if you're a good loyal Jew, so the Torah talks about what brachas you're going to get. And the Torah says, "V'hisig lachem dayish es batzir." The various crops they're going to be so much produce that it's going to overrun you. By the time you harvest the bumper crop's going to be there, and you're going to eat you'll eat your bread to satiation. And then it says, there will be peace in the land, and you'll lie down, and you won't be afraid, and so on and so forth. Now, the big question that the commentaries go to town with over here on this series of psukim, the commentaries ask, why is it that the reward for being good is being described in physical and material terms? Right? We talk about reward, we talk about the world to come, we talk about how one amen that a person says, you say amen, just saying amen, there's unimaginable reward in the world to come. A reward that we can't possibly fathom. By the way, people sometimes wonder about how could the reward in Olam Haba be so good? How could a spiritual reward be so good? The answer is that there are plenty have any of you ever performed in a play or anything? Did you get applause in the end? How'd that feel? Good. Pretty good, right? That's not physical. That's not tangible. And Reggie Jackson, who was a baseball player / philosopher, what do you call it? Reggie Jackson, what's his name? Who was his teammate? One of his teammates, I think Darryl Knowles. One of his who was it about? On Oakland. This is when he was in Oakland. So Rollie Fingers said about Reggie Jackson, there isn't enough mustard in the world to cover Reggie Jackson. because he was such a hot dog, right? So Reggie Jackson, the great philosopher Reggie Jackson, he said, there is no pleasure in the world that equals the pleasure of hitting a home run. Because you hit a home run and you run around the bases and 50,000 very sophisticated fans start screaming your name, right? There's no play. Now imagine somebody at that moment, you say to the guy, all right, stop, I'll give you a steak and fries in exchange for that pleasure right now. Nobody would take it. Nobody would take it, but it's intangible. The world to come is that sort of idea, except on a much, much higher level, where for every mitzvah, they call you in front of the heavenly court with all the people who've ever lived in eternity. They say, wow, you answered Amen this morning. You get a standing ovation for the Amen. Woo! Right? Then they bring you out and say, oh, we learned the Tosafos. And the fans are on their feet roaring. And you're just like, oh, whoa. That's what it means by a ruch niur. So the commentaries ask, if that's the case, so why is everything here physical? You'll have crops, and you'll have peace, and you'll be in security. And then it talks about chasing your enemies, which we're going to get to in a second, because the proportion here is a little off. But the whole thing here is all about material rewards. Why? What's going on here? I thought we're such spiritual giants. Why are there material? Why is it all described in terms of material rewards here? So there are several answers the Mefarshim give. Answer number one is, and probably the most basic answer, is that, well, we want everybody to be able to relate to this. And sometimes in life, people relate to the material more. Yeah, I know there's something happening in the world to come, but Lamaisa, Tachlis, right now, put a $20 bill on the table. Right? You want to motivate somebody, sometimes you got to motivate them with the immediate rewards. Try to get somebody, listen, I'd like you to come to learn tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, we'll learn Daf Yomi together. And I want to tell you, the reward in the world to come is going to be unbelievable. Then you put a $50 bill on the table. Who's on the 50s? Grant? Yeah. Who's on the 50? Grant? Yeah. Grant. Yeah, there's another. Yeah, that works. For 50 bucks. Who is a Grant? No. What? You only know what? Oh, the Benjamins. Yeah, the hundreds. Yeah. That works too. Yeah. No, Canadian money. Well. I don't know. That might be an oxymoron. But the what do you call it? Canadian money. But that's what works. So the first answer the commentaries say is, well, people relate to the material. Wow, okay, hey, that's a good benefit of Torah. If we learn Torah, if we do mitzvahs, we're going to have produce, we'll have prosperity, we'll have peace. Okay, that works for a lot of people. Number two, the Mefarshim say that that not everybody gets the same reward in the world to come. There are different stations in the world to come. And so we can't just say, well, this is the reward in the world to come. This we could all relate to produce. Some people get more produce, some people get less produce. But you'll have produce that we could all relate to. In the world to come, there are different stations, there are different levels, there are different degrees. If you look in the Midrashim, they talk about different. There's the reward for there's the Chesed or the Chesed club, and there's the Torah club, and there's a Tzedakah club. There are different things, different compartments up there, and it's too abstract for everybody to relate to. So the Torah relates to it in physical terms. That's the second explanation. Yeah, Miguel, what were we going to ask?
I was just going to ask. So it's not guaranteed that someone who puts in more effort in this world will have more reward in Olam Haba?
That is guaranteed. That is guaranteed. Because Hashem grades on effort. Okay. Hashem grades on effort. That means we have to try to accomplish, but the person with less talent who works harder is going to have a higher place in the world to come. That was always the problem in school. I'm sure many of you had that problem, right? Where they send you, when they meet with the parents, right? He's just not trying as hard as he could. He's got much more potential, right? We've all heard that music. Right? He's got much more potential, right? Which is where it remained, in the potential state. So the what do you call it is something that everybody could relate to. That's number two. But number three, yeah, good question. Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering if, like these rewards, they're like, expressed in like a physical term. Could there be a way that they be like translated to more spiritual terms?
We don't have to. These are very, very physical. Okay. Very, very physical is right. But there's a more basic idea here. I got it. there's a more basic idea here, and this is the idea that we want to get to. Imagine the following. Imagine you're working for a company, and I need you to go and I need you to meet. You're one of the representatives of the company, and I need you to go and meet with somebody in another city. And there's some sort of deal you're trying to close for the company. So I tell you, look, I need you to get there. I need you to be able to hit the ground running. So first of all, I want you to take a limousine to the airport. Make sure you're comfortable in a limousine. I want you at the airport, only first class ticket. Sit in first class, buy a first class ticket. And when you get to that city, I want you to go to a 5-star hotel. Okay? Takes the limo, goes to the airport, first class ticket, goes to that, you know, the 5-star hotel, has the meeting. It's a very successful meeting. You make money for the company. Good, you come back. 2 weeks later, I'm giving out the paycheck. And as I walk around handing out paychecks, I kind of walk past you. I give everybody a paycheck, and I kind of skip over you, and I go to the next guy. And you're like looking, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm getting a super bonus. He's probably going to call me into the office because I made money. And then the boss just kind of walks into his office and closes the door, and you're like, so you knock on the door and say, hey, boss, what happened to my paycheck? He looks at you, the paycheck? He says, you had a limousine, you had a first-class ticket, you stayed at a 5-star hotel, what, a paycheck? I say, hey, boss, listen, I'm not working for limousines, and I'm not working for first, I'm not working for a 5-star, I'm working for that paycheck. Okay, would you rather that you take a yellow cab to the airport and you sit with cattle and you stay in a cheap motel? That's also a possibility. No, I'd rather work with the best facility. Now, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? Why did the boss set you up with that? And he sent on the yellow cab and the what? Because you've proven yourself in the past. Since you've proven yourself in the past, it's in my best interest to help you to continue on that path in the future, and therefore I want the conditions to be best for you. This isn't the reward, gentlemen. This is what we call the benefits of the mitzvah. The reward is in the world to come. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, if you serve me and you show that you are a loyal servant, I'm going to make it easier for you to serve me because you've got a track record. So imagine you're a person who has a home and you always bring in guests, and you don't have a whole lot of money, you don't even have a big house. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, hey, listen, I like your attitude towards bringing in guests. So then your rich uncle who has no heirs leaves his entire pad in back Lawrence to you. Right? Next, wouldn't that be right? Now all you need is the uncle, right? So now you're living in a mansion in back Lawrence, and then what happens? You start bringing in guests. That's a possibility. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I like you. I like your attitude. You know what? And he gives you. You invest, and eventually you become the majority owner in a major hotel chain. So you can bring in a lot of. You're smiling, and it didn't even happen yet. It's just the very thought he puts us in a good mood, right? Okay. Now what happens is after you get upgraded into your uncle's mansion, the first time a guest comes into your house, say, hey, would you get off that couch? That's a leather. Get up. No, I don't want these. Kids, stop the kids from running around your yard. In your old house, who cares? The kids will break something. It'll still look better than it did previously, right? And you put them in my mansion with my upholstery and my carpet. I knew a lady who had a white carpet in her house. I didn't know the lady. I heard them. She had a white carpet. Anybody who walked in the house had to take their shoes off before they came in. What are you, in Muslims over here? You had to take off your shoes with a white carpeting. She didn't want the white carpeting to get dirty. How can you live like that? Who can live with a white carpeting? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us. These are not rewards. These are not rewards. This is the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. This is just the benefit. The reward, I can't tell you what the reward. The rewards are beyond your comprehension. But you will earn the privilege of serving me in comfort and serving me in the optimum manner because you've shown already that that's the path you've chosen. That's what the Torah is telling you. So a person who gives tzedakah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him more money to give tzedakah. You give more money, he's going to give you even more money. Why? That's why the Torah says if you give 20%, you get rich. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for distributors. You're a good distributor, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you more money to distribute. The test becomes when you get to a point where, I don't know if I want these people wandering into my house. I've got some fancy paintings over here. I spent money on some serious. I don't want these kids running around the house. That's when a person runs. Okay, you blew it. You blew it. That's not taking it away from you. You're misusing the bracha that I gave you. That's the bracha. The main reward is in the world to come. Now, take a look, because this is a serious question. If you take a look at Pasuk Ches, it says, V'rodfu bikem chamisha mea, 4 lines from the bottom. 5, what's this talk about the enemies? We'll go back to one pasuk. Sorry, I skipped. Pasuk Zayin. Uredaftem es oivechem, you will chase your enemies. V'naflu lifnechem lecharev, they will fall before you by the sword. And Rashi points out, falling by the sword, that they're going to kill each other. In their panic to run away, they're going to end up stabbing and killing each other. Now, great, takes away the job satisfaction, but they'll be killing each other. And then we have a problem with a ratio. V'rodfu mikem chamisha mea, 5 of you will chase 100 enemies, which, by the way, this is something that's difficult for people to relate to, let's say, 400 years ago, right? How could 5 people chase 100? And nowadays, we have no problem relating to, isn't that interesting? Right? First, it was the Gatling gun. You remember those Westerns with the Gatling gun? He's cranking it, and the Indians are falling off their horses, cranking it around. Then you got machine guns and grenades, and now you got planes and everything else. We have no problem how 5 nowadays you don't even have to leave your house. You could eat an apple and just, it just took out Syria. Oh, darn it, I was going for Iran. 1 second, all right. It used to be in Israel. The main goal was to get into the Air Force. Now it's to get into this thing called 8200, which is the unit, the what do you call it unit? That's the most prestigious, what do you call it? So it says 5 of you will chase, now pay attention carefully. 5 of you will chase 100. Umeya mikem, and 100 of you, Revava Yerdofa will chase 10,000. 5 will chase 100, and 100 will chase 10,000. So Rashi says over here, V'naflu oivechem lifneim l'char, the enemy will fall before you by the sword. They'll fall forward in front of you by the sword. Now, Rashi says over here, hey, that's not the ratio. The ratio is not a proper ratio. If 5 chase 100, so 100 should chase how many? 2,000. So why is it that 100 chase 10,000? So, says Rashi, good, take a look. Rashi says where's the Rashi? It's the left column, 2nd line from the top. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Chamisha mikem umeya revava. Chamisha mea umeya revava. Says Rashi. Everybody see that? 2nd line from the top, left column. Vichi, page 708. Vichi kachu acheshbon? Is that the ratio? V'halo lo yatzarech lomer ela mea mikem shtei aloth. It just said 2,000. Ela eino dome muatim haosim es haTorah lemerubim haosim es haTorah. You can't compare when few are keeping the Torah to when many. There is strength in numbers. And when many people are keeping the Torah, so the ratio increases. 100 people together, the ratio increases. That's the first thing Rashi says. But there are commentaries that say, well, let's try to make the ratio. Let's make the ratio obey the numbers. How can you make the ratio come out properly? Look at the pasuk. Look at the pasuk. How can you make the ratio come out properly? So Rashi, one of the commentaries says like this. Look at the words inside. 4 lines from the bottom. V'rodfu mikem chamisha mea, 5 of you will chase 100. Umeya mikem, and 100 of you units of 5. 5 will chase 100. Umeya mikem, and 100 of you units of 5. Revava Yerdofa will chase 10,000. The ratio is perfect. Then the ratio works out. How do you like that? Right? Now, remember we spoke about Dovid HaMelech and Goliath? Dovid and Goliath? So what did Dovid do? Goliath comes out there, and he's wearing all his armor. And the only thing, and Dovid comes out with the stone, and he tags him right in the forehead. He nails him right in the forehead. Now, a guy who gets hit in the forehead with a stone and gets killed, remember I told you about the Palestinian here in Israel? I told you about this? This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I told you about the guy with the wheel, with the tire.
Oh yeah, the tire.
Yeah, with the tire, the guy was on a hill. There was a one of the settlers was driving through in the territories, and these Palestinians were up on a hill and they started throwing stones at him. So he got out of the car, he took out a gun and he shot him. I read this in the morning in the free newspaper. I was saying they deliver it Tuesday, the free newspaper. So the guy took out his gun and he shot in the air. And apparently his shot in the air was too good. He hit the guy right in the forehead and killed him. So he was arrested. You're not allowed to shoot people who are trying to kill you in this country. So he was arrested. A week later, I'm reading because I remember because my coffee, started laughing, my coffee spilled. It said they released the settler. Why? Because they found out that it wasn't after they did the autopsy, whatever, they examined the body, it wasn't the bullet that killed him. What had happened? This guy threw a rock at the speeding car. It hit the tire of this car going at 80 kilometers an hour and shot right back at the guy who threw it and nailed him right in the forehead. Best shot since Dovid nailed the other Palestinian, right? The best shot since David HaMelech, right? And I remember because I was reading it, and my first reaction was I was surprised. A week later, they already let this guy go. They never let the guy go, and all of a sudden I read what happened. I started chuckling. My coffee spilled, right on my forehead. So what do you call it? So when Dovid hits him, now a guy gets hit with a rock of that kind of force. How would you expect him to fall? There are three choices. He could either fall backwards, collapse on the spot, or pitch forwards. The guy just got nailed in this direction. What would you expect? Fall backwards. Yet, it says that Goliath pitched forward and landed right at David's feet, and David took out the sword and chopped off his head. So the Medrash says, why did that happen?
He was charging.
Who was charging?
Goliath was charging.
He wasn't charging, he was standing there and talking. And even if a guy's charging, you nail him in the head with a stone, then to kill him, he's probably going to fall backwards. To pitch forward is the least likely of the three. So the Medrash says, why did it happen? It was a miracle. A nace. A nace. Why? It's like my kid says to me, I say, hey, where's that chocolate bar? There was a chocolate bar here before. How did it disappear? The kids learned it was a nace. Yeah. They learn very quickly. Yeah, and they also become very religious. Right? My kid was about 3 years old. He did so. I said, do you want me to pot you? 3 years old, my oldest kid. I said, do you want me to pot you? He goes, you can't. I said, why not? He says, Hashem doesn't let. I became religious. He went frum on me all of a sudden. Yeah, I see. Oh, but Hashem lets you take the chocolate bar. I know that, yeah. So the Medrash says, why did he pitch forward? To save David HaMelech 12 paces. Goliath was 6 amos in a zeres, which is about 12 feet tall, something like that. And David HaMelech, if he would have fallen backwards, David HaMelech would have had to walk 12. He's 6 amos. He would have fallen backwards. David HaMelech would have gone 12 paces to chop off his head. So in order to save him the 12 paces, he fell right at David's feet. So David chopped off his head. Okay? What's the obvious question? King Shaul made a public announcement. He said, anybody who goes out and beats this guy, number one, you marry my daughter. Guys, it's always a good shidduch. If anybody ever offers you the king's daughter, marry her. Right? You'll find out about her mitos later. But first, marry her. Right? King's daughter is good, right? If it comes up, talk to me. On the resume, whichever seminary she went to, I don't care. She's the king's daughter, you marry her. But she's 49. That's fine. She's got good mitos. You marry the king's daughter. If there's ever a king's daughter, marry her. Okay, so you're going to marry the king's daughter. I'm going to make you rich. He's got everything. You know, that's what he needs is that, what Goliath would fall 12. He just became a national hero in front of everybody. He just killed him. You think David HaMelech would have had any trouble marching 12 amos to chop off his head? It was a beautiful day for head chopping, right? The 12 amos is from here to that wall. David HaMelech just killed him. He would have picked up the sword. He would have even said something to Hillamiz. David crunch, right? It was a beautiful day for head chopping, right? That you need that. That's the miracle that you need. You need that miracle. Oh, wow, he's 12 amos away. I haven't got energy to go chop off his head over there. Bring him on. I could crunch. Right? That's what you need. The answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show that David HaMelech has a special status. There was a miracle that happened for the entire Jewish people, and there's a miracle, a little personal miracle for David HaMelech. Remember, he's going to be the king. So we want to show that you're extra special. It's like if your wife bakes you a cake, and she puts a cherry on the top, then you're special. Then you know you're good, right? And if there's little whipped cream on the top, then you're very good. Right? If there are razor blades inside, then you know that you're doing something wrong. That's the way to. So you understand that it's a show, it's a demonstration. There's a cake and there's a cake. They're different, that sort of thing. So David about the Torah says, your enemies are going to pitch forward. What does pitching forward mean? You're going to be going out there killing enemies, shooting, stabbing, and killing. Why does the Torah say they're going to fall? So literally it means they'll fall before you. In other words, that you will defeat them. But at a second level, v'naflo oivechem lifnechem, they'll pitch forwards. What does pitching forwards mean? Pitching forward indicates that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping you. This is all miraculous. You're stabbing them, you're shooting, you shoot an arrow at a guy, he should fall backwards, not forwards. And they're going to be pitching forwards. That's an indication that you have the siyata d'shmaya, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping you out. Okay. After this, you notice that when we read the Torah, you notice that the Baal Koreh dropped his voice. Right? Because they started reading what's called the tochacha, which is the calamities. Did you notice he drops his voice? In most shuls, the way it works is, and they usually give this aliyah to the Baal Koreh. The Baal Koreh gets the aliyah, gets shlishi, gets the aliyah, because we're not going to call, we're calling Yamod, Reuven ben Shimon for the curse, right? So we don't, because the Baal Koreh is up there, so we give the Baal Koreh the aliyah. My shul on Shabbos is very interesting. In my shul, the Baal Koreh is a Levi. I've never seen this before. So what they did was, at the second aliyah, they called him up, and then he just read straight through. He read the second aliyah and the entire tochacha. Then they had to break up the rest of the aliyahs differently, but it's not a problem. You're allowed to do that. So it was very interesting that he was a Levi, and so they called him up, but you don't want to call somebody up for the third aliyah. So they just made the third of the tochacha. They just joined it with they made it with the second aliyah. Very interesting. I've never seen it before. And one of the other rabbis came over to me to ask me if we should make a public announcement. And it's a good thing he asked me, because I had no idea what was going on either. I wouldn't have known unless he would have asked me. I was like, well, why aren't you stopping? He's a Levi, so they read it straight through. So the tradition is that you don't, what do you call it? So there is a story where Reb Chaim Kidd has a story with the stipler, that there was a certain shul, and a guy came to the gabbai of the shul, and he said he wants to buy the rights. He wants the third aliyah when they do the tochacha. He wants to buy the tochacha. So he said, we don't sell the tochacha. We don't sell, the tochacha means the rebuke. We don't sell the rebuke. We don't call other people up for the rebuke. He said, no, I want to buy it. They didn't know what to do. So they asked the Rav. The Rav said, if he wants to buy it, guy's a bit nutty. He wants to buy it. Okay, so buy him. Let him buy the tochacha. He buys the tochacha. Okay, forgets the aliyah for all these curses and these calamities, all these terrible things that happen. And then a week later, he's informed in America a rich uncle died and left in the business, and he has to go to America to run. He's become a multi-millionaire. Wow. So they came to the stipler, and they said to the stipler, "What's going on with this? The guy bought the curse, and now he's a millionaire." The stipler said, "Listen, he bought the curse. I knew he'd get a curse. I didn't know he'd get that big a curse." Yeah. So they asked the stipler once. There's a tradition that when you hold the baby at a bris. When you hold the baby, when you're the sandik at a bris, so then there's a tradition, the sandik becomes wealthy. So they said to the stipler, how come you've been the sandik many times, where's the wealth? He says, I have a son named Reb Chaim. He says, how's that for wealth? Right? There's wealth for you. So I was just a sandik, by the way, in America, and I was a sandik for a former Talmud. Yeah, thank you. I was a sandik. So I closed my eyes, of course, from the very beginning. As soon as that baby is anywhere near me, my eyes, people think I have intense kavanah and all Kabbalistic incantation. Had nothing to do with it. I just hold it. My grandchildren also. I'm just like this, and I just say to the guy, just tell me when it's over, right? And the guy in America, I say, I'm holding it, says, okay, it's over. It's over. I looked up. It wasn't quite over yet. It didn't have that diaper fully on. I just closed my eyes again. Tell me when it's over. I'm not interested. So the stipend to be a sandik makes you rich. So if I'm not here tomorrow or the next day, guys, you'll know that lottery ticket I bought came through. So you got these calamities over here. Now at the end, after all I'm not going to go through the calamities because we have to go on. But after all these calamities, there's one that I want to mention. If you take a look at Pasuk, page 710. Where is it? Let me just check specifically which one. There's one specific one I want to get to. Yeah, on page 26, 15. Okay. 16, Pasuk 16. It's right in the middle of the page. Afaniya says Zos lachem. All right, let's just read what causes the trouble. V'im lo sishru liv lo sasu es kol abitzos seila. The Bechukosai timasu, if you reject my statutes, as Yeshvatai tigal nafshechem, and you disdain my ordinances, you reject it. Levilti asosas kol b'tzosai lahafrechem esrisi, you break the covenant. Afani esazosochem, v'ifkaret elchem behola, which is sometimes translated as panic. How does he translate the behola? Panic. Not 100%, but we'll call it panic. And all sorts of diseases and all sorts of, and the enemies are going to come and they're going to destroy you and so on and so forth. So people often ask, why did the Holocaust happen? Why did the Holocaust happen? To go and say, well, because this, that, or the other, you'd have to be a prophet. How do you know? How do you know? Somebody said, why did the Holocaust happen? Because the Jews did this, that, or the other. How do you know? Well, you became a prophet, all of a sudden you know cause and effect. How do you know? How do you know? The answer to why the Holocaust happened is, I don't know. I don't know why the Holocaust happened. However, I do know what it says in the Torah where Jews are not loyal to Torah and Jews reject it outright. Now, you tell me if maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I'm not a prophet. I only know what it says in the book happens when Jews are, and it's just a very interesting coincidence that when Jews in Germany rejected, somebody said, where was God during the Holocaust? Here's exactly where German Jewry put him. That's where he was. They say, get out of, they push God out of the picture. God says, you sure? Yeah, we're not interested in you. I said, okay. Well, what happens when the shepherd leaves the sheep among 70 wolves? What happens? The sheep gets ripped to shreds. That's what happens. So why doesn't, the question isn't why was there a Holocaust? The question is why aren't there more Holocausts? If we're surrounded by enemies who just want to kill us and that's all they think about day and night, and so basically name the country. People say, how come you buy German products? Well, how come you buy French products? Or English products? Or Spanish products? Or any products, right? Because everywhere you go, they've all been in on the picture, in on the plot. So the Torah is telling you over, why did it happen? I'm not sure, but this is just very coincidental that when we reject the Torah, then all sorts of calamities are going to happen. That's what the Torah says. So one of the commentaries say, why is it that the first thing we get is behola? This word, what the Art Scroll translates is panic. We're going to be, I like to call it, rattled. We're just not settled. I got a lot on my head, and I'm just not. What's the word? I'm not at ease. I'm just constantly, you feel like you're just rattled. Right? Anxiety. Excellent. Anxiety. Good, that's the best word. Anxiety, that's really what it is. It's anxiety. I'm just saying, there's always something on my head. So one of the Mefarshim says, it's a result of us demonstrating a lack of patience and anxiety when it comes to serving God. I can't wait for Shul to end. I can't wait for the Shir to end. I can't wait for Shabbos to end. I can't wait. Somebody comes over and talks to you because, he needs a little bit of attention. He's not, maybe he's pouring out his heart. I can't wait for this guy to get out of my way. And we ourselves are not patient in Avodas Hashem. If we would be more patient in serving God, so we wouldn't be losing patience and all other. So we feel there's anxiety in our serving of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now there are two types of anxiety. There's one anxiety that I don't have patience for. There's another anxiety that I'm nervous I'm going to mess up. I'm nervous I'm going to mess up. That's a good anxiety, but don't be anxious because of it. You just try to do your best. But there's another anxiety. I haven't got time for this. I haven't got time. Well, I got to go daven again. I davened yesterday. I davened all last year. I davened 3 times every day. Again, mincha is lurking. There's another mincha. I just ate a meal. Bench. Again? Can't I just do one? Can't I just do one for the week? On account. Thanks Hashem for the food this week. Yeah, good. Then we're good. Or just make a boring nefashos. Why it's got to be such a long benching? I haven't got time for benching. I haven't got time to say for 3 minutes to speak to God and say thank you for keeping me alive. I haven't got time for that. I got busy things, important things to do. So, mida keneged, mida HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't have patience? I'll show you what it is to be anxious. All right. Continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.